My name is Hudson Winthrop. I'm 68 years old, and for most of my life, I believed in playing fair, even when no one else in my family did. I'm a retired structural engineer, the kind of man who reads manuals instead of memoirs, who believed that loyalty, especially to blood, meant everything. My daughter Celeste, born with ambition sharp as glass, always saw that as weakness. While she built empires from spreadsheets and silence, I stayed in the background, sweeping up the emotional messes she never looked back at. I was the quiet one, the dependable one, the man people forgot was in the room, until the day I walked out of my own house with a suitcase and a hollow in my chest. She got $42 million and my home. I got a warning note and a death threat. But when she saw me walk into that courtroom, she didn't see a father. She saw the man who could destroy her. The letter arrived mid-morning, crisp envelope, no return address. My name typed, not handwritten. Inside, 3 lines that erased my entire life. Effective immediately, the property at 1224 Willow Creek Drive has been transferred to Ms. Celeste Winthrop. You must vacate the premises within 48 hours. The walls shifted around me. I could hear the clock in the kitchen ticking louder than usual. Outside, Jasper, the dog, barked like he sensed something was wrong. I stepped onto the porch. The breeze hit different, cold, metallic. 2 black SUVs rolled up like synchronized crows. Damon stepped out first. Designer suit, sunglasses. No eye contact. Celeste followed, clipboard in hand, her stilettos clicking over the concrete like gunshots. "I didn't think you'd still be here," she said. Not angry, not sad, just efficient. "I live here," I said, voice dry. "Correction," she replied, flipping a page. "You used to." Damon didn't speak. He opened the back of the SUV and started pulling out 2 suitcases I didn't pack. They weren't mine. "Where's the will?" I asked. "Where's the paperwork your mother signed?" "Filed, executed, clean," Celeste said. "You signed the transition last month, remember?" "I never signed anything." She tilted her head. "That's unfortunate, because we have it. On record." The lie sat in the air like gas waiting on a spark. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked inside, picked up a photo of my wife in her garden, and 2 pairs of shoes. That's all. Damon loaded my things like trash. Celeste adjusted her Rolex. "You should find somewhere quiet," she said. "You're not built for stress." The car door slammed. Their engines faded down Willow Creek. I stood alone on my lawn. The American flag on the mailbox fluttered like it was ashamed. I drove to a roadside motel 2 towns over. $40 a night. No smoking. The man at the desk never looked up. Room 14. Yellow wallpaper, ceiling fan clunking like it might fall. Bathroom mirror cracked across the middle. I lay on the bed. Didn't close my eyes. 3 hours passed. The bottle of bourbon on the nightstand was still sealed. Then the phone rang. Blocked number. I answered. A man's voice. Cold. Measured. Almost bored. "You were never supposed to question it." Click. I sat up straight. Blood cold. I checked my wallet. ID still there. Bank card too. But when I opened my online account, 0. Frozen. I looked around the room. Cheap art, busted lamps. A peephole I suddenly didn't trust. The door chain clicked into place. I sat back on the bed. The bourbon was open now. My wife once told me, family doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes it means the first stab comes from the closest hand. She was right. They wanted me erased. They thought I'd vanish. But I'm not done yet. The sun hadn't risen yet when I left the motel. I'd only slept 40 minutes, maybe less. My knuckles were cracked from gripping the bourbon bottle, and my eyes burned like someone had poured sand behind them. The streets of Newark were still half asleep, but Lucius Bradford's office light was on. He always was the type to rise before his guilt could. I stepped inside. The secretary wasn't there yet, just Lucius, in a wrinkled shirt and a stare that didn't meet mine. "Thought you were in Florida," he muttered, motioning me in. "Or gone." I was. until my daughter threw me out with forged paperwork. That made him flinch, just a little. A flicker, like a liar caught halfway through a prayer. "I want to see the will," I said. "Now." He opened a locked drawer, pulled out a thick folder. I knew that folder. My wife's handwriting was on the cover, except now someone had taped over her name. He slid the document to me. My name stared back at the bottom of a transition of property agreement, dated 2 weeks after my wife's funeral. My signature bled across the page. "That's not mine." "Hudson." Lucius hesitated. "Your daughter said—" "My daughter lied, and you let her." He leaned back. The leather chair creaked. The paperwork was clean. The ID matched. "It came through your daughter's family lawyer." "I don't have a family lawyer. I had you." Silence. "You didn't even call me," I said, my voice lower now. "You didn't even ask." "I thought—" "You were grieving. I didn't want to reopen wounds." I stood. "That's exactly when the vultures come, Lucius, when the wounds are still fresh." Cut 2. A dusty cafe off Clinton Avenue, dim lights, strong coffee, the kind of place where people talk quietly and lie even quieter. Across from me, Marina Velez, my wife's best friend, a social worker, sharp mind, sharper memory. She slid a USB drive across the table, wrapped in a used napkin. "She gave this to me the night before the funeral," Marina whispered, told me to hold it, just in case Celeste ever turned. Cruel. Cruel was too soft a word. Inside the files, audio recordings, snippets of Celeste's voice. Angry, dismissive, calculating. If he fights, we burn him. If he whines, we freeze him out. And if he goes public, don't worry, nobody listens to old men. My stomach twisted. "She knew something," Marina said. "Your wife. She suspected Celeste was planning this before she passed." Another file, screenshot of a transfer order. 10 days before the funeral, $2.3 million moved quietly into a shell account tied to a private firm in Boston. "Why would she move money before the will was read?" I asked. "To make sure the will didn't matter," Marina said. Outside, headlights flashed, twice. Same SUV from earlier. Marina saw it too. "Stay here," I said. I walked outside. The SUV didn't move. I stepped into the street. The windows were tinted. Driver didn't blink. I walked past, eyes on the mirror. The SUV peeled off, fast. I got back to the motel late. Room 14. Same peeling wallpaper, same cracked mirror, but something was off. The air smelled different, cleaner, bleached. I opened the door. My bag was dumped on the floor. Bourbon bottle upright on the nightstand. I hadn't left it like that. Drawers opened, nothing stolen, except the USB. Bathroom light was on. I hadn't left it on. On the mirror, in red marker, "Stay dead." Cut scene. I ran outside, looked both ways. No one. Quiet street. But that feeling, heavy, like being watched from inside your own skin. I didn't sleep. I sat with a steak knife under the pillow and a chair wedged under the doorknob. At 3:04 a.m., I whispered something I hadn't said in 20 years. "Help me, Ellen. I don't know what to do." The shadows in the room didn't answer, but they didn't feel empty anymore. They want me dead or quiet. I'll be neither. I left the motel before dawn. Every instinct told me not to return. Not after someone tore the place apart and left a message written like a murder confession. Marina lived 3 blocks from the river, above a pawn shop, and across from a bar that never closed its doors or turned down its volume. When she opened the door, she didn't say anything. She just pointed at the couch and tossed me a pack of frozen peas. "You're bleeding," she said. "It's not mine." She didn't ask. I sat, pressed the peas to my temple, and stared at the old photo on her mantel. Ellen, Marina, and Celeste, smiling at a garden party that looked too perfect to have ever been real. "Do you believe in evil?" I asked. "No," she said, "but I believe in damage, and damage makes monsters." Cut scene. Later that morning, we drove to Ellen's old lawyer's office. He wasn't expecting us. That made it better. I introduced myself, showed him a copy of the original will. He nodded slowly, went quiet, then disappeared into a back room. When he returned, his face had gone pale. She left a codicil, he said. A final clause. It stated Celeste would only inherit if she didn't attempt to remove you from the property or interfere with your finances. Where is it? It was filed here, but it's gone. The word hit like a punch. We keep backups. He added quickly, on-site and digital. Marina's voice was sharp, and he sighed. The box containing that file was checked out a week after Ellen's death. Signed out by... He paused, blinked, rechecked the log. By you, Mr. Winthrop. My breath stopped. Impossible, I said. I thought so too, until I saw this. He turned his screen around. Surveillance footage. Grainy, time-stamped. A man entered the records room wearing a dark cap and jacket. Facial structure, close to mine. But the way he moved? Not me. A frame froze. Damon. Same jaw, same height, different eyes. I'm getting that footage, I said. The lawyer nodded. I'll email it before someone tries to erase that too. Cutscene. We drove straight to an old contact of mine at my previous firm, John Lemaire. Good man, lousy taste in music, but sharp. He pulled up Damon's past employment, sleek corporate roles, shell corporations, a stint in real estate finance, followed by private asset consulting. What's this one? I asked, pointing at a Boston-based firm. Midway Private Equity. They got flagged last year for laundering foreign funds through property purchases. No charges stuck. Celeste's name? He shook his head. She's not listed, but you know how shell firms work. Marina leaned in. Could she be a silent partner? Wouldn't surprise me, John said, especially if someone wanted to hide large assets before probate. Every door we opened, there was Celeste, already waiting. You ever notice, I said, how power never knocks. It just walks in like it owns the damn place. Cut tonight. I parked across from a storage unit under my name, one I hadn't accessed in 3 years. Locks broken, door halfway open. Inside, nothing. Old files, garden equipment, junk from another life. All gone. But taped to the inside wall, crooked and trembling in the wind from the hallway fan, was a still image printed from security cam footage. A frame of Damon, same clothes, same date. But this time, his hand held a crowbar. He was smiling. Then I noticed the red pen slash through the timestamp. A warning. Or a taunt. We got back into the car. I checked the rearview mirror. A sedan turned with us. Same one from the motel. Too close. Too quiet. I took a left I didn't need. So did they. Another turn. So did they. Don't go home, Marina whispered. I'm not. I hit the gas. We sped 3 blocks, took a blind turn, slid into a car wash exit, then looped back onto the freeway. Gone. But my pulse was still sprinting. At the motel, everything looked untouched, but that didn't mean it was safe. I checked the windows, the locks. I taped a string to the inside of the door. If it moved, I'd know. 3:21 a.m. Phone buzzed. Blocked number. I let it go. Buzz again. Marina called instead. Her voice was shaking. There's a note on my windshield, she said. No prints, just a message. What does it say? She knew. That's why she's gone. I said nothing. Hudson, Marina said slowly. Do you think Ellen didn't just die? They didn't just kill my future. They might have killed my past too. The idea that Ellen didn't die naturally stayed with me like a shadow clinging to my back. She'd been sick, yes, but the timeline never sat right. Too fast, too quiet. And Celeste had handled the hospice care. Every appointment, every pill. When the devil wants something clean, he uses family. I drove to the county clerk's office at 8:01 a.m. Sharp. The woman behind the desk wore glasses too big for her face and a name tag that said Rhonda. I'm looking for death certificate records, I said. She raised an eyebrow. For? My wife, Ellen Winthrop, died 6 weeks ago. She typed slowly. squinted. "This is odd," she muttered. "Says the official certificate hasn't been released." "What?" "Provisional cause of death, marked as pending additional toxicology." I leaned in. "That's not what I was told." She looked nervous now. "That happens sometimes." "Lab backlog." I smiled without warmth. "Print it. Cutscene." I sat in the car, looked at the paper. Pending, scrawled in red across the top. I called Marina. She said Ellen had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, I told her. She did, but we never saw the records. Just Celeste saying it was terminal. No second opinion. "You trust her?" "No." Silence. Then Marina said something I'll never forget. "If you want the truth, dig where they think you're too scared to look." Cut 2. Ellen's old oncologist, Dr. Stuart Kane, still had the same office, same framed fishing photo behind the desk. "Ellen Winthrop," he repeated. "No, she never became my patient." I froze. "She had an appointment scheduled 3 months ago," he continued. "Didn't show. When I followed up, someone said she'd found another provider. No forwarding file, no release forms. That's not standard." He paused. "Is something wrong?" "Maybe everything," I said. Cut scene. Back at the motel, a man was waiting outside room 14. Older, gray suit, polished shoes, but the way he leaned against the wall, it screamed off-duty cop or worse. "Hudson Winthrop?" "Depends." He flipped open a badge. "FBI, Agent Ryland Shaw. I've been assigned to investigate a financial anomaly tied to Midway Equity Partners. Your name surfaced." Not surprised. "Celeste Winthrop is being looked at," he said. "We believe she may be laundering money through the acquisition of estates. You were one of the first transfers." "Then she's bold." "She's smart," he corrected, "and ruthless. But we've got a whistleblower." My pulse kicked up. "Name?" "Not yet. They went dark 2 days ago. Last ping was from a burner phone in Queens. I need you to stay accessible." "Am I in danger?" He looked me dead in the eye. "You're not in danger. You're the proof." Cut scene. I pulled up old emails from Ellen's laptop. Still had her login memorized. She never changed. 2 messages stood out. Sent to a woman named Annika Grace, weeks before Ellen's death. Subject line: "If anything happens to me." Message body: "Celeste doesn't love me. She wants the house. She wants what I won't give her. I'm scared. Please, keep the folder somewhere safe." I copied the email, tracked Annika's address. She lived in upstate New York, retired librarian. I drove 6 hours in silence. Her house was small, blue shutters, wind chimes on the porch. She opened the door with tears already in her eyes. I told her not to trust blood. Annika said, but she wanted to give Celeste one last chance. "Do you have the folder?" She hesitated. I did. She stepped back, revealed a room torn apart, files scattered, lockbox open, broken. "They came 2 nights ago," she whispered. "They said they were Ellen's lawyers." "Did you call the cops?" "They left before I could, but they said one thing I remember." "What?" "They said, 'Too late. The father's already marked.'" Cut scene. Back in the car. Rain now. Hard. Wipers couldn't keep up. My phone rang. Blocked number. I picked up. This time it wasn't a voice. It was a recording. Ellen. Her voice. Weak. If this gets to Hudson, it means I was right. She never forgave me. She wanted the truth buried with me. But Hudson, you have to look in the green box. It's the only thing she didn't touch. I hid it in the attic. My hands were shaking. I looked in the mirror. Same black sedan. They weren't even hiding anymore. Rain pounded on the windshield. The wipers raced, but water still splashed in sheets. I gripped the wheel tight, knuckles white. Marina's hands trembled as she passed me the old wooden box. It smelled of attic dust and secrets. "This was in my grandmother's cedar chest," she said, voice low. "I think your wife hid it years ago." I cracked the lid. Inside, a small hard drive, a stack of printed emails, and a leather-bound journal, dog-eared, fragile. My throat tightened. I slid the drive into my laptop. The screen blinked. Then, a folder named Burn After Reading. I hesitated, then clicked. Files spilled out, PDFs, spreadsheets, audio recordings. One file, a bank transfer, date stamped 2 weeks before the funeral. Recipient, a shell company registered in the Caymans. Value, $2.5 million, memo line blank. Another, a letter from Celeste addressed to Brennan L. A fixer, seal the paperwork. It read, and make sure Dad's path stays clear. Then a low, shaky voice, my wife's voice. If this gets to Hudson, it means I was right. She never forgave me. Her tone cracked. Fear was sharp on the recording. She spoke of fear of betrayal, of not trusting blood. My chest tightened. I turned off the laptop. I stared at Marina. "You owe me truth," I said. My voice a whisper. She nodded, tears in her eyes. "He promised. Brennan L. He's the one above Celeste." I closed my eyes. The rain outside sounded distant now. Slow. Grave. Cutscene. We walked out of the motel. Midnight. Empty lot. Street lamps humming. The sedan from before idled across the street again. Engine off. Headlights dark. Like a predator waiting. Marina saw it too. She grabbed my arm. "He's there," she breathed. I nodded. No words. I stepped forward. Rain splashed up. Asphalt shimmered. I stared. The sedan stayed still. Finally, I reached into my coat pocket. I pulled out a small digital recorder, the one my wife hid, and held it. A imitation siren screeched. Then silence. Then the car door opened slowly. A tall shadow stepped out, jacket soaked, hat pulled down, face gone dark. He didn't speak. He moved like a ghost. Slow, calm. Marina gasped. I tightened my grip on the recorder. The rain dripped from the brim of his hat. Water ran down the brim like tears. I took one step back. He stopped. He raised a finger to his lips. A warning. Then he turned and disappeared into the night. No car, no footsteps. Just the echo of water. I exhaled. Hard. Marina's hand shook. "We need to go public. Now," she said. I nodded. We got in the car. Drove away. The sedan didn't follow. But the message was clear. Cut scene. At the safe house, a tiny motel room far from the city, I plugged in the hard drive again. I opened the journal. Pages full of fears. Names, places, dates, conspiracy. One entry stood out. "If anything happens to me, go to the green box in attic. All needed is..." There. Green box. The same phrase my wife recorded. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again. I answered. No voice. Just static. Then a calm female voice. Soft. "You'll never see the green box. Not alive." Click. I slammed the laptop shut. Darkness swallowed the room. Only lamplight, small and dim. I leaned back. Head against wall. Eyes closed. A lesson echoed in my mind from a book I once read. The blood you trust may be the knife waiting behind you. Tonight, I believed it. Cut scene. Next morning, I drove to the courthouse steps. Not to file, yet. Just to watch the city wake under broken clouds. A black SUV pulled up quietly, tinted windows. I parked my car, stepped out, and glanced around. No one obvious, but a feeling told me eyes watched. I walked 5 steps, 3 more, then froze. A man in a charcoal suit stood by a lamppost, phone to his ear, raincoat dripping. He lowered the phone slowly, mouth set in a line. He raised a hand, waved, then turned and walked away. Just like before. I didn't follow. I couldn't. Every move felt like walking a tightrope over a pit. But I remembered the box, the drive, the journal. I remembered the promise I'd made to myself. To fight, to dig deeper. Cut scene. Back at the motel. I sat at a small desk, printed out copies of every file, duplicated the USB, backed up the drive thrice, sent encrypted copies to Marina to 2 secure email addresses. The last copy I flashed to an external drive locked inside a safe deposit I rented under an alias. I paused, breathed. I whispered to the empty room, "If she didn't die naturally, what the hell killed her?" Rain rattled the windows. The door chain clicked. I did not flinch. The courthouse loomed under a cold gray sky. I stood at the marble steps, suit still damp from morning drizzle. FBI Agent Shaw beside me, Marina a few paces behind. Everything felt slow, but my pulse thundered. Inside, the hall buzzed. Cameras, reporters, flashbulbs. The air tasted of stale coffee and fear. Clerk called the case. The room fell silent. Prosecutor stepped forward. Slides clicked. Screens glowed. First slide, the will. Plain text. My wife's neat handwriting, her signature. Below it, a codicil. Conditional on status of father, it said. Second slide, the forged transition agreement. My name, a fake signature. Date, 2 weeks after my wife's death. Timestamp from a shell firm's digital vault. Third slide, the burn file data, bank transfers, offshore accounts, lobbed money, shell companies laundering under the guise of real estate investments. Fourth, audio clip. My wife's voice trembled. Fear, betrayal. She never forgave me, she whispered. Fifth, toxicology. The pending tag. Then, after her death, a clean certificate. Forgeries on record. A doctor's name blacked out. Blood tests suppressed. The slides kept rolling. I watched Celeste at the defendant's table, her face pale, her lips trembling. Damon at her side, shifting every few seconds, sweat pooling under his collar. Prosecutor, you see before you a pattern, not grief, a plan. Forged ownership, laundered assets, hidden murders masked as natural deaths. Breath caught in my throat. The courtroom lights felt harsh, the air thin. Then, the twist. The silent partner behind it all. A name on screen. Brennan L. The fixer. A man thought peripheral, not important. He entered late, under oath. He spoke quietly. I was paid to handle cleanups, to make papers disappear. I accepted until the threat started. I record everything. I kept one file. He held up a USB drive. Cut to reactions. Celeste's eyes wide. Damon's jaw slack. Brennan pressed play. Audio. A phone call. Celeste's voice. Dad has to vanish. Clean. No mess. Then a laugh. You'll get your cut. Silence. Prosecutor nodded. That is conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, money laundering, and possibly manslaughter for Mrs. Winthrop's death. The judge inhaled, then spoke. Given the evidence, the court finds the defendant guilty on all counts. The $42 million transfer is void. All assets revert to the rightful heir, Mr. Hudson Winthrop. The gavel struck, a slam that echoed like a gunshot. Celeste collapsed first. A soft thud. Her body slumped over the table. Damon lunged, eyes wild. He tried to catch her, then froze as deputies cuffed him. Marina gasped. I didn't move at all. They led Celeste out in handcuffs. The courtroom erupted into murmurs. Flashbulbs popped. Reporters scrambled. Agent Shaw placed a steady hand on my shoulder. It's over, he said, but I didn't hear him. My mind was a quiet chamber, empty cutscene. I stepped out into the cold. The drizzle had turned to light snow. It drifted lazily down. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. A reporter shoved a mic in my face. Mr. Winthrop, what do you say now? I looked at the courthouse doors, at the snow falling on polished stone, at the sky, heavy with winter's weight. I exhaled. Everyone's favorite truth, I said. Justice doesn't belong only to the rich. It belongs to those who stand when lies surround them. Then, silence. My voice faded under the snowflakes. Cut scene. Weeks later, I stood in the old house again. Rooms empty, except for one box. A single sapling in a pot sat by the window. The green box, The last crate my wife hid years ago lay open on the floor. Inside, photos, letters, her handwriting, memories she wanted me to keep, evidence she never destroyed. I planted the sapling in the backyard soil, cold ground, clay choking the roots. I dug deep. I whispered as I covered the roots. Home is built by love, not by contracts. Sun dipped low. The air smelled of wet earth and new beginnings. The house was mine again, not just by law, but by memory. Marina dropped by, holding 2 mugs, coffee steaming in the dim light. Jasper the dog sniffed the sapling. She said quietly, "You gave them a warning." I smiled tiredly. Not a warning, a promise. In the fading winter light, I poured coffee into our mugs. Clink, warmth. Justice came late. Pain lasted longer. But truth held, because sometimes the most violent storms don't destroy houses. They wash them clean.